Hi everyone, welcome back to Soullight Reflections. Once again, I'm always happy to be here with you guys and sharing wisdom, sharing insights, and hopefully you are able to get some insights, some wisdom, some soul downloads as you listen to or watch this episode. A topic that's been on my mind since this morning that I knew I needed to record an episode about is play. And it's something that has been so prominent on my own journey over the last several years. And I have been called to share more and more with you and with my following and with people in my daily life about what it means to play. And in my own journey, I'm still learning more and more what that actually means to play and to be your most embodied, playful self. And about a year ago is when I was called to change my Instagram, my TikTok, all of my platforms, and not even just change, but completely release my old handles and start completely fresh. I let go of almost 20,000 followers between multiple platforms. And I started this new account called Playful Embodiment. And it's crazy to think that that was only a year ago that I felt that call, but I am so grateful that I listened to it, because when I look back at my old accounts, it's not that I wasn't embodied. It's not that I didn't know how to play or anything like that. It's just that version of me was a little bit stuck in this identity of helping people in the autoimmune chronic illness space. And that was holding me back on my own journey, not even just in the people that I was helping. And so I was just reflecting on where I came from, how far I've come, where I am now, and the experiences that I've had in the recent past that have allowed me to really step into this even more embodied place in a way that allows other people to reflect back to me that I look so confident and I am giving off goddess energy and I feel so playful and I feel so easy to talk to. And honestly, although I have always hoped to embody that and give that off, I hadn't necessarily always gotten that feedback from people, those reflections from people, until pretty recently. And I think that part of it is that in my journey, I have learned to soften. I have learned how to really play with the juiciness of life. And as I go deeper and deeper in my own spiritual journey, I also learn how to approach other people with a little bit more of that softness rather than this hard exterior that I had built up for most of my life. I had to learn through some really tough processes of my own in my personal life and in my professional journey how to do that. Because before it was not even an option. I never felt safe enough in my own being, in my own experience, in my own perceptions, in my own body to be able to soften. And now being in that place feels so fucking good and juicy and exciting. Something that I've come to realize recently is that you can't truly find that place of playfulness, that place of pure bliss and joy and even euphoria in your own life unless you feel safe first. You have to feel safe in order to embrace play. Now, as I'm saying this, I'm actually having a realization of my own. So I want to give you a little background, a little story, and how what I just said is making so much sense to my own being right now. Earlier, I was doing a meditation and I didn't necessarily have a specific direction that I wanted to go. I simply put on some soft music in the background and I just went in. And during that, my inner child came to me and she wanted to play. And during that time, I realized that all she longed for was someone to play with her, someone to dance with her, someone to really see her, someone to go out in nature with her. I cannot remember, I have no memories of my mother just playing with me. I don't have any memories of that. And I really was trying hard during this visualization to dig deep, to find anything that I could of my mother playing with me or dancing with me. And I couldn't find anything. And I'm sure there was some time somewhere along the line that she did, right? I do definitely have a couple memories of like camping, for instance, but those memories are primarily with my grandparents. They were the ones that really would play with me. Ooh, rush of emotion. We're just going to sit with it and go with it. The huge memories that I have of any adult playing with me in my childhood is of my grandparents. My grandfather recently passed away at the end of January, and my grandmother is still alive, and she's doing her best to cope with it. And I believe that she is strong, and she is very spiritual, and she is connected, and she, from an outsider's perspective, seems like she's doing pretty well with it. It comes in waves, just like any other grief. And I am so grateful to have a soul connection with my grandfather now that he has transcended. But it's wild to think that the playful memories I have are not with my parents. I don't really have any playful memories with my parents. The playful memories I have are with my grandparents, and I am so grateful for that, because I feel like I'm realizing right now in this moment, they were the ones that really invigorated a lot of joy and excitement for me. They helped me realize a love for nature very early on. They would always have this phrase. They would always say, life is good. Like whenever we were playing, or sitting at the dinner table, or sitting around a fire, or hiking, they would always say, life is good. Somehow my grandparents like showed this like playful side, especially my grandfather, which I think is why I'm so emotional right now. He literally, up until the day he died, had toys at the dinner table, these little like puppets and like Jacob's ladders and like spin tops, and he would literally sit at the dinner table and play. Okay, well, in that moment, the recording just decided to stop, and I don't know why, so I'm just gonna say, hi, Papa. I have no idea where I was in that, but I guess I'll just move on. I am very grateful for having the experience of my grandparents invigorating a lot of play within me from a young age. But then just like anyone else, we start to get a little bit older. We spend less time with our grandparents a lot of times, or other people that might have invigorated that play from an early age. We start to forget how to actually play. We start to get so caught up with the day-to-day, the serious experiences, things like getting a job and taxes and credit and just all these stupid societal standards and ideas that are actually designed to keep us under control. They're designed to make us forget our innate, beautiful essence, which is love and joy and light. In my own journey, just like anyone else's, I got caught up in the quote unquote normal daily life societal things. And I am so fucking grateful for an autoimmune diagnosis that made me wake the fuck up and realize what my life was becoming and what path I was going down. And I realized that I needed to make a major change in my life. And it did take a few years for me to like really tune into like, what does that actually mean? But without that, I would not be where I am today. Guaranteed, without that diagnosis, I would still be married to the person that I was married to before. That was my high school boyfriend, who was manipulative, who was deceiving, who was verbally and mentally abusive. And I look back now with so much love in my heart for that person, that version of self, who thought like, okay, this is like how it goes. And now to know, no, it doesn't have to go like that. To know that I had this diagnosis that I could have just taken as, okay, well, my life is over now and I'm going to be in pain for the rest of my life. I took it as a wake-up call and I ran with it. And then when that got me to where I needed to be, about a year ago is when that shift happened, when I realized you now need to step out of that autoimmune community. You need to keep going forward. That got you, it was like a vehicle that got you to where you could be. And then you got to get out of that vehicle and you got to make like a change in bus or whatever. Get on the plane, get on the train, go to your next destination. And I listened to the call. It was fucking scary. But without that, I wouldn't be right here with this brand new podcast. I wouldn't have these new Instagram and TikTok handles that have allowed me to connect with so many amazing, beautiful souls that I wouldn't have otherwise. It wouldn't have afforded me the ability to build up the confidence to be able to host something like an intention setting ceremony at a festival that I did a couple weeks ago. To be able to host ecstatic dance multiple times, to be able to host in-person workshops about embodiment and somatic release and healing. I am where I am now because of the person that I was before, because of the version of me that did not know how to play. She didn't know what that meant. And now I do. And now I feel like it is my life's work to ignite that in everyone else that I come across. And so to go back to what I was saying before about having no memories of my parents playing with me or dancing with me or doing things like playing in the dirt and making nature soup with me. What I do remember from being a child is when I was about 5.5 years old, my mom and I moved in with my stepdad, who already had 2 kids. My older brother, older sister. And my older brother was only 3 years older than me. My sister is about 5.5 months older than me. So they're obviously my step siblings, but I was so excited to have siblings because I was an only child. I was a little bit disappointed as my childhood went on to realize that I was nothing like them and that we didn't get along. Like it didn't really click. When my sister and I, even though we were like the same age, we fought a lot. And now we are close and like good. But it took us until our teenage years to actually get along. Like we fought a lot as kids. And of course, we still had playful times here and there. My point in saying this is I longed for that and I thought I was going to get it. And then I was like sorely mistaken and was really sad. And then I, a couple years later, met a really good friend who ended up being my best friend through like, she's still one of my close friends. And I think that changed things a lot. That's when I started to like really find that playful side of myself again, where we would do things like makeup dances and make nature soup. I don't know why I keep referring to nature soup, but it's like a really prominent memory in my childhood is like going and getting a big bucket and putting some water in it and like finding whatever you can, like going on a little adventure and like putting little like flowers or sticks or rocks or whatever. But yeah, we would do these things together. And I feel like I finally got what I was like yearning for my childhood before then. So finally at like 9 years old is when I was like learning to play again. My mom always says that when I was younger, like 4 years old or so, when I was an only child, she would come into my room and she would find me not playing with my toys, but like organizing them by like size and shape and color. And I think back and that wasn't like an OCD thing. That wasn't like what you would think it would be if a child is not playing, they're just like organizing their toys. When I was reflecting on that earlier today after my meditation and after all of this started to come up for me, I don't think I knew how to play at that point. I don't think I truly knew how to play. I didn't really have a lot of examples around me of how to do that. There weren't really people in my life because there was a lot of adults in my life. And so there weren't really a lot of people that were showing me by example how to do that. When I look back and I do this inner child work, a lot of times like she just wants to dance. She just wants someone to like play with little dolls or whatever with her. I don't know. That was what was coming up for me earlier. It's so interesting to reflect on things like that. And it can be very vulnerable to share this publicly. Like, I didn't know how to play as a child. I don't remember anyone playing with me. Like, yeah, it's hard. And at the same time, I think it's so important to share. I don't just think, I know it's so important to share. Because I know that when one person has an experience, there are plenty of other people on this planet that have the same or similar experience. I am on this planet to be a storyteller. I am here to lead by example. I am here to show you what's possible in your own experience. And I would be doing a disservice if I did not share from the heart what has come up for me in my own practices. Because like I said at the beginning of this episode, I think so many of us get so wrapped up in being an adult that we forget that we still need to play. And that play helps you to regulate your nervous system. It helps you to feel more calm throughout your day. It helps you to access love a little bit more freely. But in order to access play, we have to feel safe. That brings me back to that aha moment that I referenced a little bit ago when I was talking about how I don't have any memories of my mother playing with me and the story time that I told you. When I was talking about that, I realized that I don't think that I felt safe enough as a child to play, to truly play. Looking back and having this understanding now that you can't really truly access that playful, light, love side if you don't feel safe. Do I know exactly why I didn't feel safe? Not necessarily. That's something I'm going to have to dive deeper into in my own practice. I think part of it is just the instability. There was a lot of things shifting and changing throughout the first 5 years of my life in family dynamics. And there was a lot of emotional instability throughout just in my own experience. I didn't necessarily feel emotionally safe to emote, to have emotions, to have feelings. I didn't feel like I was allowed to. And so of course it was hard for me to access play. That just right now in this moment feels like a duh. And on the flip side, it also makes it hard for the memory to retain any actual memories of play. Because like I said, I'm sure there were times that I played with my parents. There has to be, right? But I'm also sure that the reason that I cannot access that in my memory is because my body, my mind did not feel safe at that age. And so it didn't feel like it needed to retain those memories of play. Aha moment. So I want to talk a little bit more about play. And I want to tell you a story about when I realized that truly my purpose in this lifetime is to show people how to access play in their adult life. So I want to tell you a story about when I was in Costa Rica. This was about 2.5 months ago when this happened. It accessed something within me that I am still unraveling, but it also gave me the confirmation I needed that I'm here with a purpose, and that purpose is to ignite play in people and help them to realize that play doesn't have to always look like this crazy, silly, you're just being the silliest thing ever. It can look like just swaying when you feel like swaying. It can look like jumping up and down. It doesn't have to look like these massive, emotional, joyful outbursts. I feel like sometimes that feels inaccessible to people, because how do you go from totally serious to, like I said, just jumping up and down and acting like a crazy person? That's hard. Same thing goes for when people are practicing trying to love themselves, right? It's really hard to go from I hate my body to I absolutely love my body and I'm so grateful for it. We have to find some sort of middle ground. And I feel like my place, at least right now, is to help people access that middle ground between serious and the most silly version of yourself. Because that's the bridge. I help you to create that bridge for yourself. Wow. Another aha moment. I love the way that I said that. Anyway, so the story, I was on this retreat in Costa Rica, and it was a 9-day retreat, and we had experiences with plant medicines. This was one of the first full days of the retreat. And that day we had done San Pedro. Now, a tiny bit of a backstory is that months prior, probably 6 months prior to this retreat, I was meditating in the morning and I just hear San Pedro. And I'm like, what? So random. San Pedro is not anything I've ever really looked into or really known too much about. I know it existed as a plant medicine and that it's a cactus, but I didn't really know anything else. And to hear it during meditation was just whoa, okay. So I kind of went about my day and rest of the week. And I'm just like, okay, like this thing came to me, don't really know. A couple days later, we were at this ecstatic dance event here in Seattle. This is still like 6 months prior to the retreat. There was this person there that was selling all kinds of plant medicine tinctures. And one of the tinctures was San Pedro. And I'm like, no freaking way. Right after San Pedro comes to me in meditation, I see this tincture right in front of me. And mind you, I had never come across San Pedro like prior to this that I knew of. And I'm like, wow, that's wild. And the person selling the tinctures, like, I don't know. I didn't really catch a good vibe. I was like, but I was asking him questions about it, like trying to learn a little bit more. And so after that, I was like, I'm not going to buy it from this guy, but I'm taking this as a sign that like it's around. Then that same night, I tell my friend, hey, this crazy thing happened. It came to me in meditation. This is a couple days later, and now it's in front of me. Like, this is crazy. And he goes, I don't really trust the energy of that guy selling the tinctures either, but I do actually know someone that I do trust their energy. And I was like, oh, that's wild. So it really is around. Got it. I had reached out to my friend maybe a couple weeks after that saying, hey, like, who's your connect with the San Pedro? Like, I'm feeling really called to work with it. He did not get back to me about that for months. At that point, I found out that we were going to be doing San Pedro on this retreat. And I was like, what are the chances that literally the same day that I find out that we're going to do San Pedro on this retreat, my friend finally gets back to me and tells me who this person is that has San Pedro and does ceremonies. So anyway, fast forward now, we're at the retreat in Costa Rica. San Pedro Day was so fun. It was not what I expected. I honestly went into it without a lot of expectation because I didn't want to like go in being like, well, it's going to be the most crazy thing because it came to me in meditation, because then I feel like I would have been disappointed. The experience I had was so fun and playful and joyful, which I'm now realizing is another dot connected. I thought like maybe it might be a little bit challenging. There might be some really powerful things that come through because San Pedro had come to me. And my experience was so playful. We were like romping around the jungle, like interacting with different plants, and like me and 3 girlfriends. And it was just so freaking fun. I felt like I was truly playing just all day. And then in the evening time, there was a group of musicians that came to do like a fun like musical ceremony with us, with kind of like kirtan style, like with chanting and guitar and drums and, shakers and stuff. And as these musicians walk in past us, they were like headed down to the yogashala to set up. I see this one person, and something in me, there was like this crazy rush, and I was like, whoa, who is that person? Like my energy just like, I knew that person, even though I'd never seen this person in my life, but like I have. So anyway, they go down, they start setting up, whatever. Eventually we make our way down there after they're set up, ready for this kirtan session. And I cannot stop staring at this person. And then we like keep making eye contact back and forth. And I'm like, what is going on here? There's some sort of really fucking deep soul remembrance here. And anyway, rest of the ceremony is just beautiful. They're basically just sitting there singing, and like girls are chanting with them, maybe sitting, meditating, laying, like everyone's kind of doing what they need. It starts thunderstorming so bad, like pouring rain. And as they start singing louder, it starts thundering louder. And as they start singing quieter, it starts quieting down and the rain starts going a little bit lighter. It was the wildest experience. It was so powerful, so healing. Now, during this, I get the urge to go dance in the rain. There was like a lower level to the yogashala that's like kind of like an outer deck. And obviously no one's out in the rain. Everyone's like staying dry in the yogashala. And I was like, I need to go out and dance in the rain. And my silly human brain starts to try to be like, well, you're going to be soaking wet and this and that. And finally I'm like, no, this is play. This is when it's most important to listen to that playful voice. So I went down and I danced in the rain, and I danced so hard because I could still hear them playing the music right above me. And it was so amazing. And I like took my shirt off and I'm just like in the rain enjoying, and it was so beautiful, so fucking healing. I was down there for probably like half an hour. It was pouring, like jungle rainstorm, pouring rain, like not just pouring. I am soaked. Like, I'm to the point where I like every minute could like wring out my hair and a ton of water would come out. I had the time of my life. I absolutely like, oh, nothing compares. Thundering, lightning, pouring rain, just like stomping around on this deck, just like rain everywhere. Finally, I get to the point where I hear them. It kind of sounds like they're starting to wrap up there. So I'm like, I should probably go back up there. So I go back upstairs. I put a blanket around me. Cannot stop staring at this person. I'm like, what is going on? And once everything is done and all the girls are like saying thank you to these musicians and whatever, I say thank you to them. And then I walk up to this person who's sitting on the ground, and I just walk up to him, and I didn't really like have words at this point. And mind you, I had taken a little bit more San Pedro before this like music ceremony. So I was just like so just in awe. And I just walk up and I sit right in front of him, and I'm just like, hi. And he goes, nice to see you again. And my mind was like blown. I'm like, okay, so this person is definitely feeling this insane, like whatever this is. And I'm like, likewise. And we just sit there. No other words are really exchanged. We're just like staring and like smiling. I was not able to fully access like what exactly it was, but it was some past life stuff. There was like an intense connection there from past lives. And then at one point, he like pulls out this little pouch from his bag, and he's like digging through it, and he pulls out this little piece of rose quartz. And he goes, someone really special gave this to me, and I want to give this to you. And I was like, wow, this is really beautiful. Thank you. And then we just kind of like sat there and we like hugged for a second, and it was so beautiful. 1:11 on the clock. Hi, angels. I don't know how long it was, but a lot of the other, like the retreat facilitators and a couple of the other girls were like, whoa, like what was that? That was crazy. Like we could feel that energy. And I was like, I have no idea. That was pretty much it. Like that was it for that night. And then they were coming back a few nights later for, we had like this jungle party. I DJ'd at, it was super fun. And the retreat facilitator, my friend Bianca, she invites some of her like local friends to come hang out for these jungle parties that she does with every retreat she hosts. And so these musicians like came back for this party. Crazy experience when they came back, and I didn't really have words for this person. I just was like, what is going on here? There's still this like really intense like connection of some sort from a past life, or maybe multiple, it felt like. There were like little interactions that happened here and there with this person throughout that evening. For the most part, he was like tending to this fire at this fire pit. And I find out later that he lives in this community where they provide plant medicine ceremonies for people, primarily like ayahuasca and rapé. And he chooses, wherever he lives in this community, he chooses to live with absolutely no electricity, has no phone, no social media, none of that. I'm guessing he's like mid-20s, and he's from Florida, and he's lived in Costa Rica for 2 years and has basically been of service for the entire 2 years, meaning like he has been of service in plant ceremonies. At one point, he went down to the yoga shala to grab something, I don't know what. And it's like a little bit of a walk. And so I just follow him down there. And as he turns around, as he's on his way back, I'm like, yeah, I followed you down here. And I feel really called to ask you, like, do you have any, like, there's obviously some sort of like connection here. Like, do you have any understanding of what this is? Like, what is happening? And he's like, And this person is like so stoic, so just like no emotion on his face. Very calm energy, like grounded calm, but like almost like you want to like knock, like, hello, like give me something. And so I said, I was just curious, like, would you want to sit down and try to dive a little bit deeper to talk about this at some point? It doesn't have to be now. It doesn't even have to be tonight. And he's like, yes, I will meditate on this, and we should do that. And I was like, okay, cool. So we go back up, whatever. Later in the evening, music is done, and I needed to go get my stuff from behind the DJ booth that I left, like my headphones and USB and stuff. And I asked him if he wanted to walk over there with me. And he's like, yeah, okay. So we walk over, we get my stuff. We're about to walk back to the fire where he had been all night. And he says, hey, I'm really sorry that I didn't make it over here for your set. I could hear it from where I was at the fire pit, but I am like really, really sensitive to anything electronic. And I like can't really be around things like computers and electronic things. Like I'm just too sensitive to it. And he was like, but your set, like it sounded awesome. Like, I'm sorry that I wasn't right there. And I was like, oh, that's okay, whatever. In my mind, I'm like, that's kind of sad. Because electronic music is so fucking healing in so many ways. And to make a conscious decision to just not have that as part of your life, I don't know, it sounds hard. It sounds sad to me. But hey, I'm not judging at all. So we were about to walk back towards the fire pit. And I was like, do you want to go sit on the nets? There's like these beautiful like big nets you can sit on that are overlooking the jungle. And I was like, have you sat on these yet? And he's like, no. I said, do you want to go sit on them for a little bit? And he was like, yeah, sure. This person who has been so stoic every single time that I've tried to like talk to him at all and so just like poetic with words runs and somersaults onto these nets. And then he lays back on this big pillow that's on there and he goes, play. And I was like, wait a second. Where has that been? And so I plopped down on the net next to him and I'm like, wait a second, when's the last time you played? And he's like, And he just sits there and he keeps going, and like can't really give me an answer. And I'm trying to just like give him time to mull this over. And he goes, well, sometimes during ceremony. And I said, no, I'm going to stop you right there. That is not play. That is being of service. When is the last time you played? And he sat a little bit more and he thought a little bit more and he goes, well, I do have a dog. And I'm like, oh my God, you have a dog? And he's like, well, he's stuffed. And for a split second in my mind, I'm like, oh my God, is this like some weird like taxidermy shit? But no, he's like, yeah, he's like this little brown stuffed dog. I've had him since I was little. And I said, oh my God, like, where is he? And he said, actually, he's in the car. Should I go get him? And I'm like, yes, go get this little stuffed dog. So he ran and he got it and he sprints back. And I'm like already starting to see these glimmers. He brings him over and he goes, this is Cacao. This is my stuffed dog. And he was like, he sits with me. He comes with me during all of my ceremonies that I help facilitate. And I was like, wow, that's so sweet. He goes, yeah, sometimes he falls out of my bag. And I said, do you realize that means that he doesn't always want to be of service? And maybe he's giving you a little sign that we need to play sometimes and not always be of service. Like, I don't think he wants to be of service all the time. And he just was like, just like taking it in. So then I said, okay, back to my question. When's the last time you really played or danced? And he just sat there. He couldn't really fully answer it. And then he's like, hey, I know this is a really important conversation, but I need to go back to the fire right now to tell my brothers, the other musicians, that they need to tend to the fire while I'm over here talking. And I just saw, again, this commitment to service that he feels, this deeply ingrained feeling that he has to be of service or he is of no use to the planet. And I was like, okay, I think you're just avoiding this conversation. And he's like, no, I understand that I need to have this conversation and I have to go do this. And I said, okay. He goes, but can you watch Cacao? So he left the stuffed dog with me and he went over to the fire again. And he's over there for a long time. I'm like, this person's not coming back. Like, he's for sure avoiding this conversation. He wants to go be of service. But I'm like, he's obviously going to come back for this dog at some point, right? It was a few minutes later and one of the retreat attendees comes over to me and gives me the down low that something's going on over at the fire. There's this person having a really hard time. And I'm like, oh shit. I'm like, I'm sure he's over there like helping this person through this rough time, right? The person that was attending the retreat, my dear love Nasir, I love him so much. He runs away like the cute little fairy elf that he is. And then the other person comes back and he says, hey, I'm really sorry. And I said, I already got the lowdown. Like, I know there's something going on over there. You do what you got to do. And he was like, no, like, I know this is important. I know that I need to continue this conversation. He's like, Bianca knows where our community is. You are more than welcome to come join us, come visit anytime. And he said, I don't have a phone. I don't have social media. There's not really a way to contact me. He said, but remember that rose quartz that I gave you? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, whenever you want to contact me, just light a candle and hold that over the candle. And I was like, okay. Now, to this day, I have not tried that yet. So that'll be interesting the day that I do. But I was just like, all right. And after that point, I really felt like I needed to go spend a day or two in this community. It felt so important to me. About a week after this whole thing happened, we actually came back to the same property because the co-host from the retreat that I attended hosted her own retreat right afterwards. And she invited us back for the ecstatic dance portion. So we go back. And at this point, I had not gone to visit this person's community. I just kind of like let that feeling like kind of fizzle a little bit. It started to feel a little bit less important as the week went on. And I wasn't really sure why. I didn't know if it was just because that like potency wasn't there anymore, or if I truly like my work there was done. I like got him to start thinking about play. But when we went back to the property for ecstatic dance and we were talking afterwards, I find out from that retreat co-host, she had that same group of facilitators back for her retreat. And she said that this person was completely different. She said that he was singing and dancing and laughing. And she was like, it was night and day. It was crazy how different he was. And I firmly believe that it was because of two things. Number one, whatever that wild ethereal connection was and it reigniting something within him, and me taking initiative to have that conversation of how do you play and getting that ball rolling within his being. It was so beautiful to hear that less than a week later, he was so wildly different. And I also found out that he had done a combo ceremony in between there. And I think that the combination of all of those things allowed this shift within him. And like I said, there's no way for me to really contact him on this physical plane. So I have no idea what is actually going on within his psyche. But what I know is that his spirit is changed forever. And I feel like I was able to have a part in that. And that feels fucking amazing. And then about a month and a half after that, I was road tripping with my friend Hannah, who I met on this retreat. So she knew about all this. She saw all of it firsthand. We were road tripping. We went to Mount Shasta. We met some amazing like hippie dudes that literally like are quintessential, like just trust the universe. I don't live on time, like that sort of thing. And I was talking to this guy and he was talking a lot about being of service to the universe. Like he was saying that for him to come visit Washington, because I was saying how much he would love it. He was like, for me to come visit Washington, I would need like something drawing me there that I could be of service for. And so then naturally I asked him, hey, like, how do you play? When's the last time you played? And he said, what do you mean? And my friend Hannah was like, oh my God, I knew she was going to go here. I knew this is where she was going to go with this. Because again, she had seen all the stuff with the other person firsthand. And this guy looks at me. We're sitting at this beautiful spring in Shasta. And he said, what do you mean? Life is play. Every day is play. What I'm doing right now can be considered play. And I feel like that shifted my perspective so much because I realized that there's two sides. There's the side where you really can look at everything that you do on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, year-to-year basis as play. And you can look at every single day as service and serious. And you can forget that play is so important. And like I said before I started going into this story, my job is to help you bridge that gap so that you can get closer and closer to feeling like everything that you do is play or can be considered play. I don't know exactly what it looks like to help continue to invigorate play within people, but I know that this is my purpose. I know exactly why I'm here. And I am so grateful for it. When I changed my handle on Instagram and TikTok to Playful Embodiment, I don't think I fully understood the weight that held. I don't think I fully understood what that would evolve into. I don't think I fully understood how that would help people. And now, a year later, I am starting to really know all of those things, know the answers. As a human being, I'm never going to have all of the answers, but I truly believe that our soul and the universe and our spirit guides and the people around us will trickle in that information as we need it. And I'm grateful to be in a place to be able to receive that information right here, right now. So this episode is an ode to who I was, who I have been, who I am, and who I am becoming, and to the most playful version of self. And if I can leave you with one thing, it is to find a way to spark some sort of play in your day today. Whether it's watching a funny movie, sending your friend a funny meme, dancing around your apartment, making nature soup. Find something, playing a board game, saying a dumb joke to someone. Find something that just feels silly and playful for no reason, not because I told you to. What I want for everyone on this planet is to feel like they belong as themselves and that they don't have to do anything different than being themselves. And I truly think that being ourselves starts with laughter and finding love. Now, if you feel like you can't quite access play yet, let's start with just finding some safety within your being. If you are having a hard time understanding what that means, please reach out to me. If you don't feel like you are safe enough within your own being to access play, if you're like, play feels too awkward, even thinking about playing just doesn't feel right in my body, reach out, please, please. Message me, email me. If you have my phone number, text me. Let's work through this together. I love you. I am so fucking proud of you. I can't wait to talk to you on the next episode. But until then, keep shining, keep aligning, and we'll talk super soon.